So now we're tracking domestic commodity prices. Sokpemi Oguntade, a senior investment officer with financial derivatives company, joins me now as we take a look at this segment of the market. Good morning to you. Thank you for coming on the program.
Good morning, Harriet.
So we left off conversations with where the food prices are heading. Inflation most likely is going to gallop, and FGC is forecasting that when those figures do come out next week, we should be seeing it at around 13.2%.
Yes, 13.2%, and this is because the fuel scarcity we had in April really beat hard into inflation, because that's why we're seeing inflation going up to 13.2%. And also looking at the trend, this year inflation has increased all through the 4 months in the year, and the increase in inflation is not just marginal. It's 1.4% increase or 1.2. It's been really high compared to last year when you were just having marginal increases. And if you're bringing it down to domestic commodities, even looking at the prices of some certain commodities like tomatoes and pepper, in the month of April, a basket of tomatoes went up from 8,000 naira to 25,000 naira. That's over 212%. Now, if you're looking at the trend, generally this is a seasonal trend, because whenever you have a raining season, you have a shortfall in the supply of tomatoes. But if you go back to over the years, as far back as 2012, the increase we have is usually like about a 25% increase, not as high as 212% increase. And the reason why is because this year is particularly different, because we had fuel scarcity, as well as the foreign exchange that has bitten into disposable incomes, making cost of living very high. Yeah. And for this reason, that's why we have farmers also trying to infuse that into their cost for their commodities in the market.
And let's not forget that rain hasn't started. The rains haven't really come, and so we're still having to eat what was in the previous harvest. We've not been able to start reaping anything just yet from the farmers. And then there's also the issue of poor storage. That has been an issue that has been there for such a long time, even though yes, some state governors and even private investors have tried as much as possible to improve all of that. But do you think that in the near future we've got what it takes to ensure that we don't have a near issue with food security, for instance, people starving because we don't have enough food, or we don't have enough food and farmers can't go harvest?
Yeah, that's the particularly interesting question, in the sense that we've always had this issue of storage. If we go back to 2013, there was a period in time when they started an initiative to develop cooling and storage facilities in airports to enable them to be able to export some of these commodities outside Nigeria and earn some foreign earnings, so that we don't depend on agriculture too much. But looking back at that project now, it hasn't even gone far. It was supposed to start in 2013, and it was supposed to be infused into 13 airports in Nigeria. So how much more other states that have been? And to be fair, storage facilities are expensive to develop, but how much long do Nigerians have to wait before this would be implemented? Because food, we notice that every single year we always have this period where we have prices increasing in March, April into May, before they start coming back down in June. And in that sense, there should be some strategy that should be put in place to ensure that this is not a repetitive process where every year we should always expect prices to increase. For instance, most of the traders in the north now, they're complaining that they are not having even access to tomatoes, which is the major grain area. Some traders are complaining that this might probably be due to the new tomato processing plant in Kano, that most traders are shifting base to that processing plant, as opposed to shipping it down to the south, where they have to also incur transport costs. And given the current, or rather the hopefully dying down fuel scarcity that we had, cost of transportation has increased significantly. And so traders are wondering, traders are complaining that most farmers are now shifting base, and rather than exporting, or rather transporting these tomatoes down to the south, they're shifting it down to the processing plant in Kano. Now, the processing plant, in one sense, can help us process tomatoes in such a way that it is stored in a jar or into a tomato paste. That way, instead of always having to deal with the expenses of the increase in tomato prices, you could use something that has already been produced a few months back that have stable prices over the year. But at the same time, there needs to be some storage facility in place to take into account all these seasonal trends that we have. And that's one thing the government has been looking into. but how long it's going to take before we can see the implementation of these initiatives and before we can reap the benefits, that's another question we have to pose to the
There was a
government.
marked increase in the price of 50 kilograms of beans. It's now selling at 27,000 naira in Lagos. In Kano, it's 27,200, and in Onitsha, it's 27,100. What is responsible for this rise?
Well, for beans, the reason why we're seeing increase in the prices of beans is because most traders are also complaining about the fact that they haven't been able to get access to the necessary fertilizers to grow these commodities. So they're also complaining in terms of there's a shortfall in production in that area because the transmission process from when you get the fertilizers from the government has been tampered with. There's some level of corruption involved in that segment. Some people book ahead, some people are selling it higher than what it should be for the fertilizers to grow beans. And for that reason, that's why we're seeing beans prices going up in the market.
So what's your outlook now for domestic prices? Today's Thursday, and well, the weekend's already here.
Well, domestic prices are likely to remain high in the month of May for one reason, the planting season, and it's a seasonal trend. During the month of May, we always see prices increase in the market into June before we see prices start to come down in the market. So for the month of May, we should still see increase in prices due to the planting season.
Amy, thank you so much for coming on the program and sharing your perspectives with us.
Thank you for having me.